Hello everyone, Shroomworks here. Welcome to the first episode of Let's Play Avorion. Now if you don't know the game, don't worry, I'm gonna give you a quick introduction before we start. Avorion is currently still under development, so it's getting regularly updated. It is a voxel based game, as you can see, tons of blocks, and includes game elements from several games. For example, Space Engineers when it comes to thruster placement and physics. It includes game elements from the X series, which includes station, trade, and so on and so forth. And can be somewhat compared to StarMate. And yeah, it's a pretty solid game. It's pretty good. From what I've seen so far, from what I've played so far, this game definitely has the potential to become a big one. Really, really popular game. So, before we start, let me say that this is not completely vanilla. I have some mods installed, which introduce some changes to the game, which are beneficial. And I hope that what is introduced will be later on in the base game itself. For example, I have a trading mod installed which simulates the production of stations. For example, you've been in a system and there's a lot of production going on, okay? You leave the system and the production stops in the base game, okay? Until you go back and then production starts up again, but nothing will have changed since the time you've been there and since the time you've left. No production has been occurring in there. Even if you go away for a few hours, no production was in there. The mod changes that so that when you come back into the system, it will basically catch up with you. Let's say you've been 2 hours in another system and you come back, it will calculate the 2 hours you've been away until now, from when you left until you came back, and basically produce the goods that would have been produced in these 2 hours. Then there is a UI mod that brings back some UI elements, such as the resource view, which is pretty damn useful. I don't know why that has been taken away, but it certainly is more convenient to have it on the screen. And then the third mod I have installed gives the gates a direction, a little compass view, so to say, a little compass icon, which shows you in which direction the gates go. It doesn't always work, but in most time it does. And then, of course, last mod I've installed is to give you access to coal and oil, which is currently only available from the trade stations, and they usually don't have it there all that much. Huh? But coal and oil is used quite a bit on production chains and all of that, so it's an easier way to get it. But enough, let's get started. You create a new galaxy. I'm gonna call this YT series. Seed, I'm gonna leave it as it is. It's random anyway. Difficulty normal, collision damage I turn off. From what I've seen so far, you often fight stick ships. And these stick ships are incredibly long and incredibly unstable, because once you hit them with any gun, they start spinning uncontrollably. And you don't want to get hit by one of these wild flinging things, because they're gonna send you straight to hell. You don't want to end up in hell, trust me. So, if you want to play in creative, just check this box here. Creative mode just gives you infinite amount of resources, so you can build high-class ships directly from the beginning. That is really good if you want to design ships in peace and quiet. Okay, let's start. Everything in the galaxy is procedurally generated, including the galaxy itself. So every time you start a new galaxy, you will always have a different galaxy backdrop. I'm gonna show you that once I'm in the game. And whoa. Okay, so we're in a little mining drone here. Open up the map. So, every time you generate a new map, another galaxy will show. And everything, of course, in the galaxy, the ships, the sectors, the positions of the factions themselves, everything is procedurally generated. It's nothing the same. Everything is different right off, straight away. Okay, so we always start in the outer rim. This is basically iron space, as I call it, because mostly iron ore is available here, and it's going to be the first resource we are going to build our ship with. The further you go into the galaxy itself, into the core, the better the materials become, but the stronger the enemies become as well. Okay. Let me adjust the mod here a little bit. First, I want the resource UI. Oh dear, what have I done? I want the resource UI up here, the scrapyard license here. Okay, here we have the cargo notifier, distance to core, and the object detector. Okay, distance to core is currently 449, so we are still in the outer rim. As you can see up here, we have no resources, no iron, no titanium, neonite, trinium, xenium, argonite, and Avorion, and we only have 10,000 credits. So the first thing we need to do is get some resources. In the beginning we can only build the ship out of iron. Iron is a bad shipbuilding material. It is heavy and it doesn't offer much in terms of customizability when it comes to energy production, for example. But it's the first thing available. So we're gonna get some of that, build a first little ship. And once we build a first little ship, I'm gonna explain some of the editor as well. We don't need much iron. I'd say 2,500 would be good to start with. And then we basically want to go straight to titanium and upgrade the ship as soon as possible. Titanium is a stronger material than iron, and it's more versatile, since you can use titanium to build energy generators. And you definitely want energy generators. Everything your ship does consumes energy. The more energy you have, the more you can do with your ship. Stronger shields, stronger engines, more and better weapon systems, and titanium. Let's go get there. Won't be much, but at least some of it. As for the materials themselves, the higher the material, the more you can do with it. Some materials, however, have drawbacks, such as neonite, xenium, and argonite, which, for example, don't have any armor blocks that you can use. So you have to rely on titanium, trinium, or argonite or iron for armor blocks, for example. And of course, the higher the material, the more you get out of it for the same cost, basically. A titanium generator, for example, will not produce as much as a neonite generator, despite being the same size. So neonite is definitely better in that respect. But that's just an example. Later on, starting with neonite, you get, for example, sheet generators and hyperspace jump cores, which is not available for iron or titanium, just as an example. So you do want to get to the better materials as fast as possible, because they are just more versatile. Trinium, for example, introduces hangar modules that you can use to have your own little fighters. That's always fun. So we do have some titanium, which means I might be able to build a generator right off the bat, which, to be honest, would be quite fine. So, and what is the goal in the game? Well, it's to get into the middle of the galaxy, into the core, to get Avorion, the material that is the name giver for the game. Avorion is the highest tier. It is the best material in the game, basically. So you definitely want it, but you can't get to the core just like that. There's a barrier around the middle of the galaxy, a barrier that you have to overcome, and there is no way to overcome it by a normal means. So in order to get into the galaxy, into the core, you need 8 alien artifacts, Zotan artifacts. The Zotan are the aliens that you will inevitably find throughout the galaxy, and they are not nice people. So you need artifacts from them. In order to get these artifacts, you have to do some mission chains, some quest chains. And you need 8 of them before you can get into the core. So, the first, rather the majority of the game you will spend outside the core to get into the core, so to speak. But it's a fun part of the game, most definitely. As for the ships themselves, now you can choose to have one mega ship that can do everything. It can fight, it can trade, it can mine, it can salvage, etc, etc, etc. Or you have specialized ships. One is a freighter, one is a salvager, one is a miner, one is a warship, etc. Usually I build ships dedicated to the task I have in mind, but I think I'm gonna go with the mothership approach this time around, which should make things interesting. Of course, with the mothership approach, I will need a lot more crew. I will need a lot more money to sustain, to pay the crew, and keep the ship maintained and all of that. So it's definitely gonna be interesting. I've seen some people going with this approach, and they seem to have a lot of fun with it, so I thought, why not give it a try? Might be interesting in a series. So, we've got 1699, just a little bit more iron here to get ourselves started. I'm gonna show you the editor. The editor is so much fun. It is one of the best shipbuilding tools I've seen so far, because of its immense versatility. But you'll see soon enough. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna walk you through it and explain as best as I can. So we've got 2,200, almost there. 2,500. Yeah, almost there. By the way, while we are mining, let me show you real quick here with our little drone. We have mining lasers. As you can see, they have an efficiency. The efficiency is 14, which means it'll give you 14% of the ore inside this asteroid. So if it has 5,000 ore in there, you only get 14% of it. There is a tier system in the game when it comes to modules and weapons and salvaging turrets and mining turrets, that goes from gray to white to green, blue, gold, orange, and purple. Purple being legendaries, of course. So you have kind of RPG-like these weapons and systems in the game. So we've got 2,500. I'm gonna place myself here. I'm gonna found a new ship. You can do that with this little flag here. You can, of course, when you start the game, you are in this drone. You can always switch back into the drone, and you automatically switch back into the drone when your ship is destroyed. So let's found a ship and let's call it HMS Harvester. Because why not? So, and here we are. It's the starter ship, a cube. Let's open up the building menu with B. You can already see we have several warnings here. We are very weak compared to other ships in this region. We don't have any weapons, we don't have any armor, etc, etc. Brake thrust is bad, rotation speed is bad, we have not enough mechanics, we don't have enough crew. Boy oh boy, we lack everything. So, the editor. I've selected here the crew quarters. With A, S and D I can change the volume, the size of the cube in the 3 directions. D, for example, elongates it. S determines the height and A determines the width. If you press W, you can upscale the block. Just need to move the mouse a little. And the bigger it is, the more it costs in both money and, of course, resources. You can turn on match block, and you cannot change the block size. Not in width, not in height, only in length. It always determines the overall block size, except for the length, determining the block that you place it on. You can of course turn that off if you want to. You can turn on the mirrors in all 3 axes. You can rotate blocks by pressing and holding R, and then you have these 3 circles that you can click, and you can turn these things around. Then we have the grid size and the scale step. The scale step, depending on how you change it. For example, 005 is a very fine scale step, so you can really fine-tune the size of your blocks, almost like a 3D editor, just as such as Blender. The grid size, on the other hand, determines the snapping points. Let's say I make this a little stick here. You have a very, very fine control over where you want to have your little stick. So, next step. Let's say I'm placing several crew quarters here. Oops. I should have matched blocks here in order to demonstrate this. Okay, let's say we have 4 crew quarters. Each of these crew quarters is handled as a single block. For large ships, this is bad, because it's absolutely tanking your performance. In order to change this, in order to reduce the vertex count, you can select the blocks and then merge them into one single block, reducing the vertex and polygon count and making the game run better with larger ships. Of course, you have a undo and redo button in case you accidentally delete something or want something completely deleted. So then you can show the block visibility. This is good when you have a big ship with many layers. You can then show the material, show only blocks made of this material, or show only blocks like, for example, the hull. This is a hull block. Every other block that is not a hull block will get blended out. Let me place the crew quarters here. Show all, only the hull. The crew quarters are getting blended out. This is good when you want to upgrade blocks. Upgrading blocks, hang on, show all. Upgrading blocks, that is another thing. In games such as Space Engineers, you would need to delete the block and select another block and place it in its place. Not in this game. We have here the crew quarters. Let's say we don't need the crew quarters anymore, but we would like to make it into a hull. We would have to remove the crew quarters, right? Nope. You don't have to. You can transform the blocks. Select the block you wanted to transform into, like the iron hull. Click this button, and there we go. you've transformed your crew quarters into a home. And that is not everything this little editor can do. It is so versatile. For example, modify entire ship. You can choose the material and the scale. You can make it big, real big, twice as big. Then you can take that again and make it even bigger. Of course, that costs credits and materials. And before I forget, when you modify the ship, for example, I'm gonna place, let's see, iron armor here on top. It's an armor block, okay? If I want, for example, turn this into neonite, every block that is in the neonite category will be upgraded into neonite, except for this armor block, because neonite does not have armor blocks, so the armor block will stay iron unless you transform it yourself. So keep that in mind. For example, neonite, xanion and Avorion do not have armor blocks. Titanium, trinium and orgonite do. So if you upgrade your iron ship into neonite, keep in mind that the iron block, the armor block, is not going to be upgraded with it. So let's get into building this thing here. I would like to have some crew quarters. This one is going to give me 25 crew. Plus the 4 that is already in, so 29 in total. That'll be more than enough. The next thing we want to place is thrusters. There are 2 types of thrusters. I'm gonna turn the match block mode off. I'm gonna turn the grid size, the scale step back up. So, there are 2 types of thrusters. Normal thrusters and directional thrusters. Directional thrusters only go into 2 directions, depending on how you turn them, and you rotate them. Just for example, when I move forward, it'll give a thrust to the front in order to slow the ship down. The same goes on the backside. If I drift backwards, this thruster will automatically fire in order to slow us down. Then we have the normal thrusters. These are RCS thrusters. They are important in order to rotate your ship and of course to reduce drifting. So I'm gonna have, let's see, 2 of you. I would like to have 2 directional thrusters. And I would like to, if I can, let's switch to titanium here. We have the titanium generator. Yep, we can. Awesome, that'll give us enough power. Good. We need 2 engines. And the ship is basically done with this. But I would like to get some wedges in here, just because. There we go. If I had the mirror mode on, I wouldn't have to do this. So, next step. We need crew. We need engineers, we need mechanics. And a good thing is, we are right next to a station where we can hire crew. Let's see, we've got 1.1 gigawatts production, required energy is 318 megawatts, and energy that is storable is currently 20 gigajoules. We have our mass, which is 2.78 thousand tons. We have our thrust, 23 meters per second, and the brake thrust is being 5 times as high, which is always funny. Then we have the max velocity, currently 58 meters per second, the yaw, the pitch, the roll, the hyperspace cooldown, the reach, and so on and so forth. All of this can be seen here. Okay, let's make our way to this station. And let's see, where's the dock? Here's the dock. Let's dock there and hire some crew. What? What the heck was that? I've got teleported, I don't know why. So let's dock there and hire crew. We need mechanics. So let's get us some... we need engineers too. Let's get us some engineers. 2 of them should suffice, yes. Let's see. You can open the ship menu by pressing P. Then you have everything you need. You have the ship, you have the crew, the systems, cargo, energy production. You can see what draws energy and so on and so forth. You have your hangar. You can assign squads here. And the co-op controls, you can add seats and so on and so forth, that other players can then use. So, crew. We need at least 2 mechanics. And I am hiring professionals instead of normal crewmen. Normal crewmen, while costing less than professionals, will not level up. These 2 professional level and level 1 engineers will level up to level 3 given time, and give you bonuses and more workforce. Currently I have 2 crew, 2 of the professional engineers, and they give me a workforce of 3. Even on level 1 they give me workforce of 1.5 instead of the untrained crewmen giving me a workforce of 1. And the higher they go, the higher they level up, the more workforce they offer, the less crew you need. At level 3, for example, they offer me 2.5 workforce, meaning currently I would only then need 1 engineer. And I would save 150 credits an hour. Because currently I have 2 of them, cost 300. And the performance goes up. The more crew you have in that field, the more performance you have, up to 130%. So putting in more crew, then the performance doesn't... Putting in more crew doesn't raise performance past 130, and you can and should dismiss crew that is not needed. Okay, we need mechanics. We have several other stations here in the sector. And let's press F9. With F9, you open up a tactical overview over the sector. Panning the view, or rather, moving the view is done with the mouse and the corners, the sides of the screen. It's the only way to move it. You cannot turn it and all of that. You can only move it right around. But it gives you a good overview and allows you to move your ships in kind of like RTS style. So we are currently here at the resource depot. Let's see, what does the crystal farm have? With F9, you can of course close this again. Hire crew. You don't have anything. How sad. What about the shipyard over here? What do you have? You have what I need. You have gunners, you have miners, you have mechanics. Awesome. That's exactly what we need. So while we make our way here, here are the stats of the ship. The upper bar is your energy generation. As you can see, we produce more energy than we are using. The more energy we're using, for example with the boost now, the more energy is being needed. If energy production, usage exceeds the production, then the second bar comes in play. This is your energy storage, your battery. The more energy is needed than you can produce, the more is drained from your battery until this is empty. And then after that, systems begin to fail. The third bar is the shield. Of course, we don't have a shield right now, but that will change soon, hopefully. And the fourth bar is your health bar. As you can see, it's starting to degrade, and that is because we don't have mechanics. We need mechanics in order to keep our ship up in shape. Stations and ships without mechanics will degrade over time. You don't want that, trust me. So let's hire the crew. We needed 2 of you. Hire them. Okay, there's 1 warning left. We are weak, very weak. Which means time for some armor. I'm gonna match the block. Turn that around. I'm gonna mirror on the x-axis. Make a tiny sheet of metal armor. Yeah, that should suffice. At least for now. Corner armor. Here we go. Edge armor. Why are you doing that? Let's see, mirror X off. Place that in. And match the block with this if I can. Just do it all the way around. There we go. We have an armor layer on the top. Now we need one on the bottom as well. Once again. Oops. Wrong. Need to turn that around. There we go. No X mirror. Okay. There we go. I'm gonna copy you real quick. Copy and paste, of course. Once you select a block, Control C copies it, Control V brings it into the world. That is, of course, to speed up the workflow, which is a great thing. Okay, so far so good. 1 iron edge. Okay, we have some armor now. That is good. Top and bottom. What is about this? Weak compared is still yellow, and that is because we don't have weapons. Let's open up the building inventory. You can, of course, change this. You can show more, you can show less, or you can go into a middle ground. When you scroll down, there's the different building materials. Okay, and right on below it, you have your inventory. We've got mining turrets, we have got chain gun turrets. Okay, we are too weak, which means when we get into a fight, we won't handle as well. So let's get our 2 triple chain gun turrets here. And now we have another problem. Not enough crewmen for armed turrets. We need crewmen for the turrets. Otherwise they won't work. And I'm gonna place the iron mining turret right here. I'd like to place another one, but I can't. Because I don't have the modules installed. When we look here, we have modules. Module slots. The more volume your ship has, the more module slots will be unlocked, up to 15. And in these module slots, for example, you can put modules in that increase your arm turrets. You can then place more arm turrets on your ship. Or you can strengthen your shield, or your generator, or a better radar, or a trading system. But we get to that when we get there. I'll get to that when we get to modules, that's what I meant to say. So, we need miners and we need gunners. So let's hire a crew. I think 2 miners should be good, yep. And 4 gunners. I need more sergeants. That's bad, I don't have a sergeant. So let's hire 1 crewman, go into crew, and assign 1 sergeant. Good. Now we need the gunners. Hire crew. And the gunners. There we go. With a certain amount of crew, you need sergeants. Once you have a certain amount of sergeants, you need the next step, the lieutenants. Once you have a certain amount of lieutenants, you need commanders. And then, after a certain amount of commanders, you need generals. The more crew you have, the more you need in terms of the chain of command. The captain is not as important. You don't actually need it if you fly in the ship yourself. But if you want the AI to fly a ship for you, you need a captain. Okay, we have everything we need. Last step is to go into the ship overview, and now we can see our turrets here. If you click on one and press a key button, such as 1, this is now category 1 or group 1. This is now group 2, and you can switch them. Group 1 is on and off, 2 is on, 2 is off. And when they have this little mouse symbol here, you can right click on them. That means they are independent firing turrets, and you can give them orders to auto fire, to attack the target that you are currently selected, and so on and so forth. And left mouse button, of course, fires them. Now that we have a mining turret with a higher mining quality, we get now more ore out of the asteroids. And of course, as I said before, iron is a bad way for ships. It's a bad material. You don't want iron, trust me. So, the only thing you could use iron for is now harvesting it and selling it for credits. You definitely want to get into titanium as fast as possible to make a stronger ship. But unfortunately, I'm now quite a bit out of time. Actually, I'm going over time here. Everything has been taking a bit longer than I expected. But in the next episode, we will go into titanium space and hopefully upgrade the ship and hopefully start the first mission for one of the Zotan artifacts. Okay, so as always, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please consider to like, share, comment and subscribe. And I hope I'm going to see you next time. Until then, stay safe.